Hey guys, so we have been van lifing for about a month now. We're just about to head home from our first big trip, and we wanted to do a little bit of a van life tour since I feel like that's kind of a thing that everyone does. We wanted to showcase what we have done with our Ram ProMaster and how it came along. This is a 136-inch wheelbase 2015 Ram ProMaster. We bought it used from a gas company, and we spent a lot of time cleaning it up and then converting it. The whole process took about 4 months. And Natalie's gonna give us a tour of the inside.
Welcome to our very tiny little house. So we'll start with the kitchen. The kitchen was actually created by my father. He took it and the entire cabinet portion of this was stripped out of one 4x8 sheet of plywood, which is pretty amazing. It is about a 3/4 inch thick plywood. Then we added butcher block on top. We have a Ramblewood's propane stove and just an over-counter sink, so that way we didn't have to deal with undermounting it. We also have this super nifty, this is probably one of my favorite features of the van, how this can go 360 degrees. You could use this as a foot wash outside of really anything.
Bike wash.
Bike wash if you really want to. We have a separate thing for that coming soon. We have tons of these little magnets hanging up so we can hang things to dry. If this is really soaked, we put it outside on the van so that way it's not creating moisture on our butcher block countertop. This is my favorite part of the kitchen and probably the most revolutionary. It comes up. You just have to make sure you really bring it up, and then you can chop your food, prepare everything right here. Really simple. It just has two little latches. You click it down and there you have it. We have their entryway right here. We have a big mat so that way we can put our dirty feet here and we're not messing up the rest of our van. Dirty shoes usually go here. And then we have this guy. This is our fridge. It's pretty packed full right now because we just went to the farmer's market, which was lovely.
I think this is a 56 quart.
It's
right?
a 53 liter fridge.
Yep, and it's an Alpicool. We didn't want to go with the Dometic because it just felt highly expensive and unnecessary, but this thing has been working out great.
Yeah, we haven't had a single problem with this. It's fantastic. Over in this corner we have some outlets and plugs where we can charge all of our electronics and camera batteries when needed. One of my favorite little things about this van is our fruit bowl. We got it, little Amazon special. Nothing, knock on wood, has actually flown out of this, and we've been on some very rough roads. We have it attached to the ceiling by carabiner, which is great. We have a bunch of stuff actually attached. Lots of hooks, lots of things that we can put things on. Little towel rack. And then we have our bathroom, our big master bath over here. So this is a Thetford cassette toilet. And then it just works just by, this is the flushing mechanism. There's no water in it at the moment, but we will be adding more soon. You open this up, you open the lid, open the hatch, do your thing, flush, close, close, make sure it's fully latched. Good. Trash. We have a little bag where we put brochures and souvenirs and things like that so they don't get lost. It stays pretty well put because this thing is very heavy. Reusable bags. We added this in kind of last minute. This is our little spice rack. It's super nifty. Mostly I use salt and pepper, which stays under here. But the spice rack is great because I can turn around while I'm cooking, grab what I need, do my thing, put it right back. We do have all of our food storage over here for any dry, non-perishable goods. It's very packed to the gills. One thing I would recommend is build a little more food storage than you think is necessary, because even though it seems like you won't use it, you will. You definitely will. Speaking of storage, we have our plates and bowls and cups all on the top shelf. We have knives, any kind of spoons, lighters to light our stove with because we do not have ours plugged in, forks and knives, and spoons. We have all of our pots and pans, salt and pepper down here, cutting board, very easily accessible. On the other side, this is super important. We have our gray water tank. We use this, we probably go through it once every 2 to 3 days. We need to dump it. It's not too bad. It's very easy to dump. Just matter of taking this thing out, taking out the entire gray water tank and going for it. Lots of towels, lots of microfibers to clean with.
One thing that we decided to go with, a lot of people, I actually haven't seen a ton of this in van build outs, but we decided to go with sliding doors for our cabinets because this way, when we're driving around on bumpy roads, nothing swings open. We didn't need any special magnets to hold things in place. It's worked out great for us.
Right, and then we have our little towel bar here, which I love. It's super convenient. So if I'm doing dishes and I splatter a little bit, just reach down, wipe the counter, all good. Next thing, I'm sitting on it actually. We have a stool that we store right underneath. We can just fold it away and put it right underneath our counter to get up here. Otherwise, it's a little too tall. We have our paper towel holder, soap dispenser. This is held down by Velcro. This is just held up on the wall. It's just a normal dispenser. And then we have our bedroom area. So, first and foremost, we have these wonderful lights which have USB ports that we put our, they're super easy to use. You just flick them on and go. They provide tons of light in the evening and they're dimmable, which is awesome. I can charge my phone from here. We have a shelf that we can put all of our stuff on Anton's side of the bed. We have this for his phone. He has a couple of magnetic shelves over here as he needs them.
Those are not the best solution. They do keep falling off when you slam the door shut, but they work just if you need to put something overnight.
Yeah. And then last minute, Anton made this amazing little tray, which we've used several times throughout the trip to store electronics, to make sure things don't wobble around, and to eat and drink our coffee out of. So,
it was just kind of leftover materials, and we decided not to waste anything.
and then we just bought this little addition at the farmer's market, which we're thinking, what do you think? Right there. Fits our vibe pretty well. Lots of art was bought on this trip. It's really nice. Speaking of art, it's not really art, but we do have a wonderful little magnet wall started.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about the electrical in this van. We do have a whole separate video coming, and I'll link it down below in the description on just the electrical system because there's a lot that goes into it. But just a quick overview in terms of the van tour. So we have these recessed lights, which everything is 12 volt in this van. These are dimmable, as you can see, and this is just a very typical RV dimmer switch. We also have this 12 volt panel over here, and this is to turn on and off all of the different outlets that we have, all of the 12 volt outlets. Right now we have only 2 of them actually in use. One of them is for our WeBoost range extender and the other one's the water. So as you can see, I can turn this on and then this turns it off. So that's our, and it also kind of shows how the faucet works. This thing is great. This actually has 2 different settings. So you can have it just as a faucet or shower. That's awesome. Now for ventilation, we have a max air fan right up above here. We saw a lot of vans with ACs, but since we're doing this part-time, we didn't feel like it's necessary to have an AC. It's also a shorter van, so we didn't feel the need to put 2 separate max air fans in. We put this one over the bed to provide us some good ventilation, and if it's really hot outside, we can turn it on to blow air in, and it's going to provide nice air circulation. This is the manual crank kind, so you can pull this down and then crank it open, and then you can crank it down. We didn't really feel like the remote was necessary just because it's such a small space and it's very easy to reach this, and also it's one less thing that depends on electricity. So that's our fan setup. So we don't have a ton of storage space like Natalie mentioned in this van. Again, we're not doing it full time, so it's not a huge problem. This is our clothing storage up here. Pretty much all of our clothing fits up in this overhead bin. So this is like the bulkhead area. If you're buying a Sprinter van, or I think the Ford Transit is the same, this doesn't come pre-installed, so you just have this massive empty space up above the driver and passenger seat. The ProMasters do come with the bulkhead shelf. This fits in quite a bit, so this actually goes all the way back there, and we have all of our clothing stowed away up here, our DOP kits, and it works pretty well. I don't think we've had any major issues with it. So in terms of curtains in this van, we wanted to have some privacy and also wanted to have the ability to be a little bit more stealth when we're traveling. We have these dark out panels. These were bought on Amazon, and then my mom actually cut them to size. And we have these Velcro strips that help keep everything in place, and they actually attach on the side as well. So it's completely like light proof. You can't have any light passing through. We've tested it, and you can open it during the day like this if you're driving. This has worked out pretty great. In terms of the cockpit area, we don't really have anything special. It's your typical ProMaster cockpit. One little thing to showcase, and these have been incredibly useful, we have these little window grates. What these do is they allow the fan to work a little bit more efficiently. So because we only have one fan, these provide an access point for the air to come in or come out of the van. We have them on both sides. And one other thing about the cockpit, two things actually. So we have our WeBoost right over here. This has worked out pretty well. This is the antenna for it. The thing with the WeBoost signal boosters is that you actually have to be no more than three feet away from the antenna. So really, if you're looking to use the range extender, you kind of have to be in one of the seats up in front.
The last thing is probably one of my favorite features of the van. We have these insulating blackout panels that Anton's mom also put together for us on our back windows, so we have privacy, but we can pull them down and then see out them at the same time. These are tinted windows, but when you have the lights on, you're in a fish bubble.
And these are, like many things in the van, are magnetic. One of the lessons that we've learned: magnets are your friend when it comes to van life. You can do so many things. You can attach anything to anything. They just work out great. Another thing that I wanted to show is our shower back here. Originally, we were going to build a shower. That wall over there was actually meant to be one of the shower walls, but we're kind of rethinking that just because we haven't really found a use for it. We do have this portable shower in the back, and we did use this a couple times during this month. All this is a propane heater. We have a 1-gallon propane tank back here, and you have to attach this to some access to the outside because this obviously does have the exhaust, and you don't want any exhaust going inside your van. This is, again, a magnetic shower holder. We usually just clip this on over here, and you can take the shower, secure it, and there is your portable shower. Now this is our actual garage space. It's pretty jam-packed. As you can see, we brought a lot of stuff on this trip, and this is a smaller version of the van, so it's kind of hard to see in here, but this is our 21-gallon water tank and all of the associated plumbing. One thing I would recommend is if you're doing, this is the drain valve to drain it for the winter and stuff like that, make sure that you do install 2 separate valves just in case one of them opens by accident. That way you don't have a major flood inside your van. We have a lot of clips like this to just attach loose items. We have storage bins to organize some of our camping gear. Our bikes are in here kind of at an angle because the van actually was not long enough to put them straight on. So it's a bit of a process to take these out each time. So we might be getting a bike rack. This is our Goal Zero Yeti box that provides all of our power needs. And again, we'll go into more detail in a separate video on electricity. But if we don't charge this, we can go for about 2 to 3 days off the grid. just from this guy.
I think one of the biggest takebacks we have from this first month is organization is key. You can't really function in this van without being well organized. Especially the smaller the space, the more organizational tools you need to have at your disposal. So within the first week, we were buying storage bins and all kinds of things to help ourselves out. We have learned that we do indeed need a bike rack because bikes just mess up everything. Without the bikes, this would be a piece of cake. So that'll be our next purchase.
One other thing I wanted to talk about when it comes to this van build is the propane system. So we went with a Ramblewood propane stove as opposed to an induction stove because we don't spend a ton of time in RV parks or campgrounds with shore power. So we needed something that would work reliably off the grid without using a ton of electricity. We got the Ramblewood propane stove. It has worked out great. The stove itself is amazing. One thing to pay attention to is the pressure regulator. So right back here is our propane tank, and coming out of that, this is the pressure regulator back here. Get a good one of those because the one we got from Amazon, it requires a lot of adjustment each time you light the propane stove, and it seems like you can't just leave it in one position. Each time you have to close it and open it, and it's very, very sensitive. So get a good one. Another thing is get a collapsible ladder. So this guy right here, we've used this quite a bit. You can use this to tie tarps onto trees if it's raining. You can use it to crawl up onto the roof of the van to inspect stuff, to lay out your solar. We have our 300 watt solar panel up here right now. We take this off when we drive places. But these ladders are amazing. You can get them on Amazon. They're not expensive and they work really well. One of the other lessons that we've learned with this month on the road is use the resources sparingly, and whenever you find resources, pick them up. So if you see water, if you see free water spigots, top up your tank, even if you only have about a quarter of it used. If you see a dump station, use the dump station because you never know when you're going to need it. We have a 21 gallon water tank. I highly recommend going for something larger if your van allows for it in terms of space. So if we had the larger van, I probably would have gone for a 30 or a 40 gallon tank. 21 gallon tank works out fine, but we do have to conserve water. And right now we're in Steamboat. We were lucky to find a place to fill up, but there's a lot of places out west where water is hard to come by or you have to pay for it. So the larger the tank, the longer you can go off the grid.